Dune was directed by Denis Villeneuve and stars Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, and Rebecca Ferguson, and I'm very excited to give you guys my review for this movie. If you've seen it, be sure to let me know what you thought about it. As well, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Now let's get into this review. In this movie, a noble family becomes embroiled in a war for control over the galaxy's most valuable asset, while their heir becomes troubled by visions of a dark future. For me, Dune was one of my favorite movies from 2021. I really loved this movie. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I did see the original film before I watched this one and wasn't a huge fan, but I went into this one and I really loved it. To start, the visuals in this movie were fantastic. The cinematography was great. The way Denis Villeneuve directed this movie, I thought was great. It's a great film to look at. It's hard to take your eyes off the screen while looking at this movie. I just thought it was fantastic visually. But I also really enjoyed the story. And one thing that I really appreciate about this is it's not a sci-fi movie that's focused on the action. I do enjoy some of those movies that are much more focused on action, and there is action in this movie, and when it's there, it's really good. But I found it really wasn't as concerned about its action, and I've heard the second part will be more action heavy, which is fine, but this one I enjoyed them setting up the story, setting up the characters and the conflicts and everything that's going on, and I thought it was done very well. I enjoyed the characters. Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides I thought was great. I thought this movie was very well casted. I enjoyed all the characters and all the performances. I think the performances really helped carry this movie, and I think pretty much everything helped carry this movie. Oscar Isaac as well was fantastic in this movie. It was full of a lot of big names, and everybody was great. I'm looking forward to seeing more of some of these characters in part 2. And like I said, I just love that this movie took its time to set up these characters and set up this story to help sort of get invested in what's going on. I know some people found it to be a bit of a slow burn, and it is a slow-paced movie, but I found it was still moving for me. It was slow-paced but not boring, because I was just invested with what was going on. The characters, certain sequences, like one where you get I can't remember if they call them the sandworms in this movie, but it's like that type of creature, and there's a great shot when they're on their ship looking down at the creature. I love that scene. There's some other very exciting scenes when they're out in the desert. And the action, when it is there, is quite exciting. It is good, so I'm excited to see what they do with part 2 if it's more action heavy, because the action that was in this was quite entertaining, so I am looking forward to that. I just excited for the setup. Like, this movie, it's half of one story, so it didn't really have its own conclusion, and it sort of ended at a moment that was fine for this movie, but even compared to some other movies that are split into 2 parts, it felt a bit more of abrupt for where it ended than some of the other ones. That might be my biggest issue with this. Another issue I have, that it's a smaller issue because it didn't bother me too much, is there was a moment in this movie where it felt like it was reaching its natural conclusion, but it wasn't. It kept going for a little bit, and at the start of that moment I was like, okay, this is going on for a little while, but as it kept going I got invested again, and so that worked for me. It was just, there was a moment where it was sort of a big battle sequence, and it just sort of felt like the conclusion of the movie, because you got this big like climax, but it keeps going, and sort of at the start of when it keeps going, it's like, oh, this is going on for a while, but then after that I got invested again and quite enjoyed it. As I said, the visuals in this are stunning, the performances were great, and I enjoyed the story they set up and this conflict of getting control over what they call the spice. I really enjoyed that, and I'm very excited to see where they're going to go with part 2. I really hope it doesn't disappoint. I trust what they're doing. They did a great job with this one, in my opinion. So for me, I'm going to give Dune Part 1 a 93%. Really enjoyed this movie. So those are my thoughts on this movie. If you guys have seen this movie, let me know what you thought about it. Did you really enjoy it like me, or did you think it was kind of slow and not for you? Let me know what you thought. As well, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and be sure to stay tuned for some more reviews coming soon. And until my next video, take care everybody.